Alright guys, so I got everything I need. Right here's the amplifier that I'm going to be using. I mean, it's nothing crazy, but it's a 2-channel 1000-watt crunch amplifier. I got everything I need in this box, all the wiring. But yeah, this is the one I'm going to be using. I used to have it all hooked up inside the house, but now that I have a car, I'm going to put it in the car. Now I can't decide which subwoofer I want to put in there. I don't know if I want to put in the Boss audio or put in this dual Pioneer speakers. Not really sure. I'll probably put the dual, if I have enough room, which I think I will. These fucker pack a punch, so I might just put the dual Pioneers in there. But yeah, it's a pretty big box compared to this. So like if it interferes with the room, then I'll probably put this one in there. Just to show you guys, this is how big this sucker is. It's a pretty big box. So it's in there and it actually fit pretty nice. And I still have a lot of room right here for like groceries and stuff. So yeah, that fit in there pretty nice. So there are 400 watts dual Pioneers, basically them competition subwoofers. All right, so now I just need to go ahead and start wiring up the amp. But before, we'll go ahead and get the console into the car. So here's everything for the console. If you guys seen previous, I ripped out the old console. It didn't even work at all. But for you to have a subwoofer in a car, you need to order basically an aftermarket stereo anyway. So regardless if it worked or not, I was buying this anyway. Because here lately I've been using my Sony Bluetooth speaker, which does pretty good, but you know, I want that actual stereo. I want my subwoofers, you know how I love my subs. So things first, the wiring harness that I ordered separately. So these are basically like adapters for me to plug in, because if you look at these are what are in the car. If you look at those, and you look at the back of this, you could see right there, that's not gonna fit, that's not gonna work. So these right here basically plug into these right here to adapt it. So pretty much like that. So now they're plugged in, and these are the wirings I need to wire, which this tells me exactly what wire is what. And then next we take the wiring that came for the console and basically match up the wire collars for these, wire them up, and then this will plug into the back of the console. And that is the first step of getting the speaker set up and getting everything working. And once it starts working, it should play all the stock speakers that are in the car. And then the next step, I will show you guys how to wire up a subwoofer to this console. Yo, look at this, it came with a remote. That's pretty cool. Alright guys, so these are the wires, so we'll go ahead and match them up to this. But if you guys want to see the features of the console, it's a 7-inch touchscreen, 1080p format. It's got FM radio, supports TF cards, 45 watts by 4 max power. Yeah, clock function, bass and treble, stabilizer, video input function. Yeah, but yeah, just match up all the wires to the same collars. So instant red and black are the power to the battery. That's how it's going to be getting its power. And just to be safe, I am going to unhook that battery just in case something goes wrong. It ain't going to electrocute me. So just to be safe, just unhook the battery. Literally just unscrew one screw, you'll be good. So I want to get to the battery here. And the battery is actually in the back of the trunk. So it's going to make it a lot easier to hook up the amplifier to the battery. when it's all going to be right back here. I don't have to run the wires to the front of the car. My battery's actually right in the back, so that makes it more convenient for me. Now you guys, with the battery in front of the hood, you guys are going to be running the wire through the firewall from the battery, from the firewall down into the back of the trunk. And make sure your wires are hidden, of course. But in my case, my amp will be plugged right into the back with the battery, so I don't really have to run wires through the front, other than the only wires I'm going to be running to the front is to the console of the car. Hey guys, so I'm wiring everything up right now, and when I'm done I will put where the wires ain't gonna touch, which I'll show you guys how to do that too, because you don't want these wires touching. But I will leave a wire diagram of what wire color means what. That way you guys have a better understanding of what wire does what and what it does. Alright guys, so everything is all wired up. There's only a couple wires that I didn't wire up because I'm not really sure where they go, but I got the important ones wired up. So now I'm gonna get them wires out of the way so they're not touching. Guys, so got everything wired up. I have them electrical tape, got some electrical tape going on. But as soon as I know everything works, I am gonna heat wrap them, shrink wrap them. So basically take a lighter and just light up the tip of the electrical tape to basically shrink them onto the wire so they don't come off. So that's like a cheap way of doing it. So I'm sweating right now. I am gonna go plug back in the battery, and well, first went ahead and plugged in the console and everything, but I think I got every wire. You want to make sure they're not touching. That one's showing a little bit. Let me fix that. There we go, good as new. All right, so got everything. I'm not gonna mount everything up yet because I still need to hook up the subwoofers, but I just want to make sure this turns on. All right, let's go ahead and turn this sucker back on, plug it back in. All right, everything's plugged in. Let's see if it kicks on. Well, first I'm gonna have to turn the key on first. All right, that ringing noise you're hearing, that's just let me know that I have a car payment due today, so I need to make the car payment today with the dealership. But anyway, nothing's turning on. So I'm going to stop myself right there. So in the video I was super confused why it wasn't working, but here to find out later, I found a couple blown fuses in the car that controlled the radio from powering on. So I replaced those and then eventually got it working. Alright guys, so I got everything all wired up. All four of my stock speakers are playing. Alright guys, so I have everything installed. This is pretty much the $30 touchscreen unit that I paid on eBay, which honestly, for the quality of this, yeah, you can tell it's cheap, but it's actually not that bad for a $30 unit. Like, I thought it was gonna be terrible, but the touchscreen, yes, you kind of have to push a little hard to get it in, like to respond, but that's to expect for it being cheap. So right now it's connected to my phone. You can download your contacts, like right here, like my contacts, they're downloaded onto this now since it's through my phone. Yeah, see, like the touchscreen, you kind of have to mess with it. FM radio should be connected. I got all that connected. We'll scan. But yeah, everything's working. Now the only thing that's all hooked up is just the stock speakers the stock 4 speakers that are in the car. I will be installing the subwoofer to it and the camera probably tomorrow. But yeah, so far, so I had issues with this. So the issue was with the car, when I went to try to get power onto the unit, it wasn't getting power at all. So I got messing around with it, and a day went by, gave up, and then I got thinking, well, maybe it's a fuse. So I got tearing into the car and found that there was 2 blown fuses, and that is why it wasn't getting power through the car. So now it's actually hooked up the way it's supposed to be. I don't have it hooked up directly to the battery, so when I turn on the key, it will turn on the radio. So it's hooked up the way it's supposed to be. But it was all because of them fuses, and the dealership actually sold me the car like that. So yeah, that was, but I fixed it. Also, another thing, my headlights were out. I had one headlight that was blown out, so I had to go back to the dealership. They fixed it for me, thankfully, that I have a warranty on this car, so anything that they repair, it's free. It's all covered. But here, the socket to the light melted, so whoever owned this car before, that's how that happened, because they sold me the car with a headlight out. But I'm glad I was able to get it fixed. They fixed it for me. Check engine light's been coming on and off. They seem to know what it is, so they're going to be looking at the car here soon for me. But other than that, I fixed the radio myself. They wouldn't cover, so my warranty doesn't cover for nothing like that, but I fixed the radio myself. So yeah, and it was all because of the fuses that was blown. That's why it wasn't getting power. But yeah, this touchscreen $30 unit is honestly not that bad. The dial kind of sucks, so when you go to, sometimes it turns up, sometimes it don't. Like, see, I'm turning it now, nothing, and then it kicks in. So it's a little late on turning up and down, but what do you expect for 30 bucks? You know, this is what you're gonna get. But for 30 bucks, this is actually not that bad at all. This actually makes this car pop out a lot more better with a touchscreen. But like I said, I will be installing the rear camera to it, and I will be installing the subwoofers to it as well. So, stay tuned. Brightness is really bright on this, but you can adjust, or you can have it completely off. There you go. And then all you would have, we'll kick this off, then all you would have is just this little light, which ain't bad at all. It's not like it's gonna get you in trouble, but yeah. And then touch the screen again and it pops right back up. I am very pleased by this. Oh, I also had to adjust the wheel, the controls on the wheel, so I can have controls on the wheel if I want, you know. But yeah, this is the steering wheel control. The only thing I don't like is the fact that it makes a beeping noise when you turn everything up and down. I don't like that. Alright, we're not getting nothing on this radio. Hey guys, remember I was talking about the beeping noise? Well, I figured out that you can get rid of it right here. So, there's the beeping. There's the beeping off. So, that solves that problem. And I can adjust the bass and the treble and all that. So, heck yeah. You can also change the setting for what color light you want. So that's what controls that. It was set on auto, so I might just leave it on that. You know, it's cool that it cycles through all the colors. So I think that's pretty cool. Display, brightness. We can adjust the brightness even more if we want, if it's too bright. But I'll leave it for now. I changed the background, so my background is different now. But yeah, this thing is neat for 30 bucks. Like, it's crazy. So I actually fixed the problem with the touchscreen. If you go to calibrate, it will actually make the touchscreen a lot more sensitive. So just make sure you guys do that. And you guys can listen to music and still mess around with the home settings, and it will still be playing your music. So you don't have to worry about it exiting out. So, you know, this thing's just blowing my mind. It's crazy. Hey guys, so it is currently the next day. So now I am going to be installing the backup camera and the subwoofer to this $30 console. So yeah, but by now, like, if you want it just for like your stock speakers, it sounds great. Like, there is a awesome clear sound to it, and it actually gets pretty loud. But there's one thing, I don't know if like the wiring or if it's just the way how cheap this thing is made, but when the engine is running, you hear this buzzing noise going through the speakers. And when I rev the car, that noise revs up with it. Yeah, so I don't know what that is. Well, other than that, it sounds great for 30 bucks. The microphone sounds, you know, pretty decent. The quality definitely feels cheap, but it gets the job done, and you can't complain for the price. So I have my inline fuse right here. This is very important, just in case something goes wrong. You're gonna want this fuse because you don't want no fire or nothing. But what we need to do is take our power cable. This was a 12-foot power cable. You don't have to cut it like I did, but since I cut mine, my battery's lower in the back. But for your guys' cases, most cases, it might be in the front. So, you know, you're gonna need that extra 12-foot, but I cut mine to probably like a 6-foot. That's all I need because my battery's just right here. But what we need to do is just cut, again, right up here so we can install our fuse. Alright, so I cut the piece right here, and I'm gonna be cut a piece of wire. That way I can have some wire showing so we can to install it into the fuse. So we take the wire, insert it right in, like so, nice and snugged. Okay. So this is what it should look like. The red into the 12 volt, the ground into the ground, which is the black wire. Okay. In my case, I am gonna screw in the amp on top of the speaker box. And we also need to find somewhere to screw this fuse. That way it's not moving around. Oh, and one more thing, make sure when you put your wire into the fuse, make sure you get an Allen wrench and tighten that wire down. That way it don't fall out like it just did. And specifically on this fuse, the lid just unscrews just like that. All right, and just like this, take your Allen wrench and just tighten down that wire. All right, so next we need to get our wrench and install the power. So mine takes a 8mm wrench. Go ahead and disconnect that. Then we just take that ring and basically hook it up on the screw. And as we're installing it and screwing it back in, it's nice and secured. Now the black wire, which is the ground, that's the negative. We need a nice ground. So I have the ground right there. So instead of hooking the black cord directly to the battery, we're going to hook it right to this ground wire. And that's important because that could cause a lot of static in your radio, and you don't want it to hear static in your subs. Alright, so getting that ground bolt, it was tight, really tight, but I got it. So we're gonna hook up that ground wire to this ground metal. It's got to be a good, nice ground metal. All right, so go ahead and take our ground right here, and we'll go ahead and just take the bolt and put it back in. All right, so my ground wire is a little too short, so we're gonna install the amp. Make sure you wire up the wires to make sure you want to know where you want put the amp at before you screw it all in. But it looks like in my case I might have to screw it in like that. So I'll go ahead and get my drill here, and I'll screw it right in the speaker box. These screws I'm using that came with it also has lock washers, so it keeps pretty much vibrations from vibrating the screws out. So you definitely want lock washers if you have it. Alright guys, so my amplifier is installed on the side of my subs. So now we can go ahead and hook it up to the battery. I took that out just to make sure that no screws was touching it, but it didn't, so that's good. And say if I ever need to adjust the amp, I can always adjust it from back here and just mess with it. But I have it adjusted where I need it. But yeah, I have it running right here. So all my wires, like my jack cords, line input, will be running from here straight to the console. And then that super bass I have turned off. The LPF, X over, all that's pretty much set the way I had it before when I was jamming it inside my home. I have to adjust it because now got a bigger battery into it, so yeah, it's gonna be really packing a punch. Alright, so everything is hooked up to the battery, you know, the black with the black, aka the ground, and the red to the red. So make sure you guys get that right. You hook it up backwards, you will pretty much fry your fuse. And the whole point of a fuse is a safety to keep the car or the amp from burning up, catching on fire. Alright, the next thing is hooking everything up to the console. This is where everything's going to be playing into the amp. Alright, so while I'm thinking about it, we're going to go ahead and install the speaker wires into the amp. So I got my speaker wires here, and since there's two subs in this, we'll hook up, you know, 4 wires all together to have 2 of the subs playing at the same time. Now if you're doing one sub, then you know you just need just a regular one set of wires with 2 plugins. So yep. So the one with the white stripe is the positive, so that goes into the red, and then the solid color, which in my case is blue, will go into the negative, which is the black. And it should look like that. Again, the white line going across, or some of them will have wording going across. That's the hot positive, goes into the red, and then every solid color is always negative. And then you want to hook up the wire to the speaker output. So it tells you what is what. So negative is on this side, positive on that side. So again, if you guys remember, this solid color is always negative. The one with the white line or wording on it, positive. So we go ahead and grab our wire, try to keep it a little hidden, but I made a pretty short wire so it's not like too crazy. I could tuck it in underneath this carpet just to hide it a little more. It should look like that. And since I have another sub to hook up, I'm gonna do the same for this side. So I'll go ahead and hook up my wire to my other sub in the box. All right guys, so the speaker wires are hooked up to the subs. Now I'm gonna take the jack's cords, plug it in right into the amp. Plug those right in. Okay. Now, to keep the wires hidden, we're gonna try to run them down through all the way through, and we'll take it right up underneath, and then we'll pull it right up behind the console. So if you see, I'm tucking it right up underneath the trim and just working my way to the front. You want the wires hidden, that way it's more presentable. If you want to make it easier, you can take these off and hide it right up underneath. If you want to make it a lot more easier, you can just rip this off. It's pretty much a clip. So I got everything running. You can't even see the wires. That's how tucked in I got them. But you can see the wires a little bit right there. Got them running all the way through here to the amp, and got them running back here. So I got extra wires going on here, but we'll just take some of those wires, right, tuck them in there, and we'll just plug in what we need right here, right into the back of the unit. All right, next guys, and I'm so sorry that this video is so long, but I'll leave portions of the video, that way you guys can skip through whatever parts you want to see. But next we want to do the blue wire. This is our remote wire. This plugs into the remote side on the amp up onto the console, which I'll show you where to wire it. So this blue wire goes right into where it says REM. That stands for remote. And this guy controls when we turn on the car, it turns on the amp. When we turn off the car, it turns off the amp. All right, and we do the same thing. Tuck it away, make sure there's no wires showing. All right, again, so everything's all hidden. Got it running back here. And we want to connect this to the blue wire. All right, so it's connected. And then I just did it the cheap way and took electrical tape and wrapped it around. All right, the last thing, pretty sure, is the bass knob. So this is the knob that we're going to be using to control the volume of the subs. And it just takes these Ethernet cables. This is the knob I'm going to be using. This goes to my other amp because my Crunch amp didn't come with one, but I have another amp, which is a Rockville, and it came with one, so I'm going to be using that for this. And I actually don't mind this color because it kind of matches the interior of the car. My amp don't have where I can plug this in. I guess that's why mine didn't. I guess that's why the Crunch didn't come with one, because it don't have where you can plug it into the amp. So I guess no for the bass knob, but this will work on my other amplifier. So if you guys have that option, you have that option to control the volume of the bass. But we're pretty much set. So this is how I have everything all hooked up, nice and neat. No wires are showing. Yep, and they're all going right to the console. So we got everything on. Turn the key on. The radio power's on. Okay. But we should be getting power to the subwoofers, so all my volume will just be set through this knob instead of a bass knob, but I will be changing that here soon. But yeah, that is pretty much how you get a subwoofer hooked up to any console that you want to buy. My case, it was just a $30 7-inch screen, doubled in, but it still works. So I went ahead and put all my plastics back on. I got to get an actual thing to mount this in, but for now this works. So yes, the amp is getting power, which is a good sign, which means everything is working properly. So yeah. Now if you get a bass knob, you can have more of a power punch into the subs, but for now it's just going directly into this touchscreen pretty much. So whatever I'm doing on the touchscreen and turning stuff up, it'll turn that up, but it ain't gonna be like really crazy until I get that knob and I can adjust as much bass as I want. But we'll see what I can do with this. It'll still give me somewhat of a punch. Alright, so here we go. Got some subs. Hell yeah. It's got a punch though. So as you can see. Let's check the back. Oh yeah. When I turn the car off, the amp goes off. So, yep, everything's good to go. Install the rear camera for you guys. I don't know if I'll be able to do it today, but we'll see. We'll see. Either way, I'll show you guys how to install that. All right, guys. So I have it. This goes all the way up to 40, and I have it just 10 below 40. So it's about almost maxed. But we'll see what it does at 30. Oh, damn. Damn. You guys can't really see the mirrors vibrate, but it's vibrating the mirrors and the seat. Yep, vibrating the car. So this is the bass test on the car. Oh my god, that shit's bad. Let's pop up the trunk, see what's going on in the back. This thing packs a punch though. And for that $30 console, powering this thing like that, that's crazy. I mean, the amp helps, but that's crazy. Get in the inside. Oh, it's about to drop. But it shakes the mirror. Shakes all the mirrors. You can feel it in the seat. That is how you hook up a subwoofer to your car or any car. Pretty much that's pretty much the basic settings of how to do it. Like in my case, my battery was in my trunk, so it was a little easier for me and more convenient. But in most cases, the batteries run to the front of the hood. So, you know, always just make sure you have your wires hidden and make sure everything's hooked up right like I showed you in the video, and you'll have your subs playing just like I did. Took me some days because I was having some issues going on, but you should have your subs playing within the same day. So hopefully this video helped you guys out, and I will see you guys in the next one. The rear camera I will do a separate video on, but until then, subscribe. Appreciate the like, and the support. I'm out this thing. Peace.